Have you ever wondered what the heck goes into a credit score? Well, you're in the right place because today I'm going to teach you the components that make up that score. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Ben, where we embark on a journey towards genuine wealth. Today I'll be walking you through the different parts that make up this kind of weird score, and hopefully by the end of the video you know a few tips that can help you increase that score and live your truly rich life. Now would be a great time to like and subscribe if you're getting value out of these videos. But let's go ahead and get into the video.
Perfect.
When a business lends you money, they want to know whether or not they can trust you to pay them back. And so when you have a loan or are using a credit card, information is being collected that is put into something called a credit report. And your credit score, what's often called your FICO score or FICO credit score, is tied to this report. And it's a simple way for you and for businesses to know, can I trust this person to repay me? And I've prepared a PowerPoint slide that kind of goes into the different pieces of that, and we're going to go through that next. But make sure you stick around until the end of the video where I go through a few of my tips for improving this score once you know what goes into it. First off, let's just talk about what even is the range of credit scores. You know, what should you be aiming for? What is going to get you the best deals? And so I made this little graphic that shows kind of the range. If you've never had a credit card or you've never had a loan, you never had any type of credit, then when you start out, when you get your first credit card or your first student loan or something like that, you're most likely going to start in this fair range. That's where I started when I got my first, $500 limit student credit card. But as I adhered to the principles that I'm going to teach you and paid attention to the different pieces that went into my credit score, it quickly grew into this great range, and now I'm starting to even get into the excellent range and working on raising it even more. And that's after about 2 years of just consistent work. So it does take some time, but it's not excruciating, and getting to this great level of credit really did not take as long as I thought, maybe 6 months to a year. Now those aren't guaranteed results, but if you pay attention and stick to the basics, then you can increase your score. So most likely you're going to start in this fair range and hopefully move on up from there. And once you're in this excellent range, you get the best interest and the best rates and deals. This is what actually goes into your credit score, the different pieces that make it up. And I'm going to go over this quickly, and then we'll drill down deeper into each of these different areas. And so your most two important are going to be your payment history and your amount owed. Roughly 35% of your score is based on your payment history. So just making your payments on time. And it's as simple as that. Just paying at the very least the minimum every single time. Although I would suggest that you pay off the full balance on your credit card every month so you're not getting charged interest, if that's possible for you. And then the amount owed. Basically, of the limit that they give you on your credit cards, they want to see that you're only using 30% of that. So even if you're maxing out your cards every month and you're paying them off in full, if they see that you have a lot on the card, that's going to negatively affect your score. So we'll talk about how to keep that in the right level. Then your length of credit history, so just how long you've had a credit history, from when you first started your first credit card or first got your first loan until now, how long that's been. They want to see, a proven track record of being responsible with any debt that you have. New credit, so that would be like applying for new loans, applying for new credit cards. You may have noticed, if you've monitored your score before, that when you apply and get what's called a hard pull on your credit, that it negatively affects it for a few days. So they just want to see that you're not trying to get all kinds of loans and credit cards. That's kind of a red flag to them, where they say, why are they trying to borrow so much money all of a sudden? And then types of credit, they like to see that not only have you had a credit card, but you've also been responsible with an auto loan and a student loan and a mortgage, just kind of diversifying your debt. But these two things especially aren't worth, I think, putting too much effort or emphasis. You wouldn't want to get a mortgage just to improve your credit score. That's not a good technique. But paying attention to your payment history and your amount owed is going to pay huge dividends and are the most important factors in your credit score. Let's drill down a little bit deeper into payment history and what goes into that. It's pretty simple. Basically, just pay your bills on time. Make sure you're at least paying the minimum payment on time. This is the most important thing that goes into your credit score. It will boost your score the quickest if you're making your payments on time, but it will also tank your score the quickest if you miss a payment, or you're late on a payment, or you don't pay at least the minimum. So just make sure that you're always paying on time. And as a pro tip, I would say use your credit card kind of like a debit card. So don't spend money that you wouldn't normally spend or that you don't have in the bank, so that you can pay it off in full every month. That way you're not going to get charged any interest, and you'll just get whatever benefits or rewards they're giving you for your card. So in the 2-ish years that I've started establishing my credit history through credit cards, I've never paid a dime in interest, and that's because I pay it off in full. So that's a great technique that I would encourage you to also use as you get started building your credit history, or even just moving forward with your credit history. All right, next is the amount owed. So this is often called your utilization ratio or your use ratio. Basically, when you have a credit card, they give you a limit. So my first credit card had a $500 limit, and then after a while they increased that to a $2,500 limit. So your limits can change based on kind of your track record with that credit card company. And the basic rule is that you should try and stay within 30% of your total credit limit each month. So once it gets to that 30%, you're trying to pay it off and not have that show up, and that will have a positive effect on your score. Whereas if you're charging over that 30%, even if you're paying it off in full, it could negatively affect your score. So basically, we have this example here that I drew up. Another thing is that your credit limit is cumulative between all your credit cards. So in this example, you have 4 different credit cards with 4 different limits, $2,000, $2,000, $2,500, and $1,500. And so what they're looking for with your credit score is just this total. How much out of the total are they using? And you could split that up evenly between these 4 cards. You could put it all on card A or all on card C. I have 3 different credit cards right now, but I only use one of them because it gets me the best rewards. But because I have those 3, the limit stack, so that I'm working with more of a number like this rather than this. And so using this graphic, that means that you'd want to stay at about 2,400 or below each month to keep that number, going up. Keep your FICO credit score headed upwards. Yeah. And let's go ahead and move on to the next. So these are the other factors: your length of history, type of credit, and types of credit, and then your new credit. Like I said, this is not extremely important. I would say focus more on your payment history and your amount owed. They are important, but they're not the most important parts. So length of history, I mean, basically self-explanatory, just from when you got your first line of credit until now. Kind of some caveats to that. So say you had one credit card and you had it for a year, and then you got a new credit card, then they average together the two lengths of history. So you had one for 1 year and one brand new. So now your length of history is half a year, if that makes sense. And so my tip here would be, don't cancel your old credit cards. Even if you don't use them anymore because they were just your starter cards and they are not, optimal, don't cancel them. Use them maybe once a year on your birthday or something like that, so they'll stay open and active, and that will keep your credit history alive. Because if you cancel them, or the credit card company cancels them, you lose out on all that credit history that you've built. Types of credit. So they just want to see that you have a diversity, that you've had like a mortgage, a student loan, an auto loan, multiple credit cards. They like to see that you can balance different types of debt. I think this will just happen naturally for you over time. I wouldn't try and get all these different, types of debt just to boost your credit score. So that would be my tip with that, and it's just 10%, so focus on kind of the high value things when trying to boost your credit score. New credit, they don't want to see that you're applying for a bunch of different cards, that you're applying for a bunch of different loans. That's kind of, they think, what's going on? Why are they needing so much money all of a sudden? Are they going to be able to pay us back? So just space it out. Maybe if you're going to get a new card, maybe wait 6 months to a year before you get a new credit card. And that brings us to the end of the presentation of what goes on in your credit score. If you have more questions, please leave them in the comments below or connect with me on social media. Now I will dive into some of my tips, my top tips for boosting this score, in addition to the little tips I've been giving you throughout this video. All right, so let's talk about increasing your score. So first is just to monitor your score, know what your score is. And an app that I love for doing that is Credit Karma. It's completely free. They make their money by advertising you different credit cards and financial products, but they also give you a lot of this is why your credit score went up, this is why it went down, this is how to make it better. And I just love that they have this easy to use platform that gives you so many great suggestions. You can also use other apps, like I have a banking app through Capital One that has a CreditWise feature that does basically the same thing as Credit Karma. So something like that to monitor your score, as well as annualcreditreport.com. I'm not positive on that, but I'll link it below, where once a year you can get a full free credit report to see everything that's going on there. All right, that brings us to the end of this video. Thanks again for stopping by. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you're getting value. Reach out and connect with me on social media. I'd love to hear feedback from you guys. But until next time, we'll see ya.